woodcraft, helping you make woodwork.
Okay, so you'll always know that they're there.
I will.
And that will always bug you, won't it?
I'm going to get over it.
Right.
I'm not going to say it out again.
Okay, see, that's the beauty of the gel stain. You could put some of this on over that existing stain that you have right now.
The Minwax, I think I use Minwax. Is it Minwax I use?
If it's it's an oil base probably, right? How long's it been on?
A couple weeks now.
Couple weeks? Okay.
I don't want to sand it down again.
You wouldn't have to. You wouldn't have to. A scuff sanding is all that would be required. And that could be done in, just a few moments. Because you're not trying to take the existing stain off. You're just trying to create a little bit of a mechanical tooth, if you will, for this to have something to grab onto.
But that's real dark. I don't want it real dark.
Well, it comes in lots of different colors.
Okay.
Lots
We
of
need to
different.
talk then.
This is just one of the many colors that it comes in. But you could scuff sand that, clean that dust off, put a layer of this on, get a nice even color, let it dry, top coat it, you'd be done.
Okay, we need to talk.
Okay. We'll talk after the demo, that's fine. Okay. So, to go along with, and by the way, this is a urethane with a pigment added to it. Okay? General Finishes does actually have a top coat, a gel top coat. It only comes in a satin sheen. The interesting thing about this is that this is exactly the same thing as what's in this can, minus the pigment. Okay? It's exactly the same thing. Okay? So, gel stains, really nice, easy stuff to use. Now, of course, these are all your oil-based products. Okay? This is just a few of what's out there. You've also got the Danish oils and all those kinds of things. But primarily what we're talking about today is top coats. Okay? So we're not really going to get into Danish oils and pure tongue oil or pure boiled linseed oil and all that kind of thing. Although those are certainly oil finishes as well, but not quite the focus of what we're talking about today. So were there any other questions on the oil before we move into talking about water? No? Okay. Water base. High performance. This is a really, really nice finish. I have used the high performance on all types of projects before. If you've not used a water-based finish before, I will caution you ahead of time that when you open the can, it looks kind of milky blue inside. Okay? That is perfectly normal. Okay? But when you put it on and when it dries, it is clear. Okay? But just be aware that if you open the can and it looks kind of milky blue, don't freak out. Okay? Because that's what it is. I mean, it looks like that in the can. That's perfectly normal. Okay? High performance is essentially a water-based polyurethane. This is probably one of the toughest water-based finishes I've seen. Not the toughest, but one of the toughest that I've seen. General Finishes recommends this product for things like kitchen tables, countertops, places where it's going to be subjected to a lot of wear and tear. It's a very tough finish. Instruments, stringed instruments. Nick's back there playing air guitar to remind me that that's another one of the uses you can use this for. It's a very versatile finish. Soap and water cleanup.
Can you buff it?
Yes. Soap and water cleanup, mineral spirits, turpentine, warm soap and water. Very nice finish.
That is a finish.
Pardon?
That is a finish.
This is a finish. This is your top coat.
Okay.
This is your final top coat, yes.
What? High performance finish.
Yeah.
Is that sprayed or?
This
In all likelihood, it was sprayed. Yeah.
Is that actually what he used?
is actually what he used.
Yep.
It leaves that much shine.
Yes, ma'am.
If you use the gloss
Can you
and finish and do what's called finishing the finish, which is buffing it and using, rotten stone and pumice and all those types of things to actually polish the finish. But yes, it will leave that kind of a sheen. Yeah. Really nice product. The other nice thing about water-based finishes, or top coats, whatever term you prefer, is that they generally do not add that kind of amber color to the wood that oil-based finishes will. Okay? Those of you that have used oil on light-colored woods know exactly what I'm talking about. You'll get that kind of orange, amber appearance, and you'll think, okay, I started with a nice, clean, light-colored piece of maple here. Why does it all of a sudden look orangey yellow or orangey gold or amber or whatever color you want to call that? What happened? The oil is what happened. That tung oil, linseed oil, whatever oil base they use for that particular finish, that's what happened. That changes the color. Yes, sir?
Are they food safe?
Are they food safe? Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. So again, really tough finish. Leaves a durable surface behind, doesn't change the color of the wood, soap and water cleanup, very, very low odor, okay? One thing that I will tell you, where'd my can of Armor Seal go? Stinky. Not stinky.
Is the,
Those are technical terms, by the way.
is the water-based one food safe?
No, not necessarily. Some are, but not all. Okay? Some are, but not all. All right.
What's the drying time between coats?
2 to 3 hours under ideal conditions?
The 70/70.
Yes. 2 to 4 hours.
2 to 4.
2 to 4 hours. Yeah. 2 to 4 hours there under ideal conditions. Good drying conditions, 6 to 8 hours. So substantially faster dry times here, okay? 2 to 4 hours, you could essentially do perhaps 3 coats in a day's time. 6 to 8 hours, 3 coats, 3 days. Okay? It's beginning to add up for you. Okay? The other nice thing about water-based finishes is that most of General Finishes water-based finishes can be used as what's called a toner. So if you want to create a custom color for your finish, you can actually add up to 5% of their dye stain, their water-based dye stain, to their water-based finishes. And create your own custom color stain, if you will. I guess you could call it a stain at that point. A toner, I'm not sure what the toner would probably be the correct or more correct phrase, but you can actually add this to create color. Okay? So that's kind of a nice feature there. And because this is what they call, General Finishes actually calls it water white. I guess that's the way they say clear, but they call it a water white. But you can add the water-based dye stain to it to create your own color. So that's kind of nice.
Can you use other stains? Like the small containers you have, the plastic ones on the far wall.
You mean the dyes?
Yeah, the dyes.
Yes, you can add like
As long as it's a water-based?
as long as it's something made for water-based. If you wanted to use an aniline dye, is what you're talking about, the little Transfast.
Right.
Or Transtent is the liquid. You could do that. You could decant some of this into a smaller container and begin adding drops of that dye to it because it is soluble in water. So yes, you could tone it that way as well. Yes. Yeah. So a little bit about that particular product. Endurovar. Endurovar is another very versatile water-based finish. This has a lot of urethane resin in it. A very high content of resin. It's very, very tough, very durable. Endurovar comes to us from the gymnasium floor industry, okay? And so everybody knows how tough a finish needs to be to stand up to that kind of use. Well, that's where this stuff comes from, okay? And so if it's tough enough for a gymnasium floor, it's probably tough enough for your dresser or your jewelry box or whatever kind of project it is you happen to be building. This would be more than adequate for that kind of project, okay? Endurovar, unlike some water-based finishes, and in fact, I believe there's another one over there. I don't have a can of it right now. But the EnduroVar is one of the few water-based finishes that has that ambering effect. Okay. Another one of General's finishes, water-based finishes that does that, is the Wood Turner's finish. And I didn't have a can of that to show you today, but the Wood Turner's finish has that ambering effect too. And it's the higher urethane content that causes that. But this is another finish that that luthiers will use sometimes on guitars because of its durability, its ability to stand up to wear and tear and so forth. It's very chemical and water resistant. EnduroVar is actually, well, maybe it was the other Enduro that I don't have. There's another Enduro product. Did we have a can of that? I don't think we do. The regular Enduro in the purple. Do we have a can of that over there? I'm going to see if we have a can of that over there. It's the Pre-catalyzed. The Pre-catalyzed refers to the fact that as it dries, oh, there it is, the Pre-cat. Thank you, David. It's always nice to have a stagehand. The Pre-cat, this is an interesting product. This is I would have to say probably, again, this might even be the toughest finish that they have because this actually cross-links as it dries, so you don't need to add any additional cross-linkers or anything like that. And that's that cross-linking, I don't know what the word is, I guess just cross-linking, that makes it even more resistant to water, chemicals, abrasion, those types of things. This is probably the toughest one they have. Again, this will add a little bit of that ambering color to your project, so just be aware of that as you're working on different types of projects. Another nice thing about this for the EnduroVar is that it will act a little bit as a grain filler, okay, because of the high resin content in it. You don't need a sanding sealer underneath it like you do with some of the other water-based finishes, although you don't have to, you certainly can, and that's where the sanding sealer comes in. Okay, so they do have an Enduro water-based sanding sealer. Again, this just simply acts a little bit as a grain filler. It helps to even out absorption, that kind of thing. Makes your sanding a little bit easier, so on and so forth. It's a nice product. You don't use it under everything, okay? You won't use it under everything because most water-based top coats are self-sealing. In other words, they just don't require a sanding sealer. So, a little bit about that. General finishes, even though this is not technically a top coat, General does do a full line of water-based stains. These again, they're a little bit thicker than some, okay? They're not quite to the point of a gel stain, but they are a little bit thicker than some. The nice thing is, again, we're back to the low odor, what they actually refer to as low VOCs, volatile organic compounds. It's the hydrocarbons and chemicals and things that are in oil-based finishes that smell so bad, okay? The water-based stuff just simply does not have that. And again, you're back to soap and water cleanup, okay? And in my book, I'd much rather wash my hands with hot soap and water than mineral spirits. Call me silly, but you know, hey, if I can do it with soap and water, I'd much prefer that. So, yes, sir.
What's this pre-cat? What does that mean?
That simply means it's been pre-catalyzed, and it's that's as it dries. That's when the catalyst comes in. The catalyst actually causes it to do that cross-linking that we were